Today's story takes us to Fayetteville, North Carolina, in December 2000. At the heart of this tale was a seemingly ordinary couple, Michelle and Marty Thear, whose marriage appeared stable to friends and neighbors. They shared a life together, navigating the joys and challenges of family, work, and the bonds of love. But, as often happens behind closed doors, appearances can be deceiving, and the events of this day would soon draw the attention of an entire community. Fayetteville is a mid-sized city in eastern North Carolina, known for its connection to the military through Fort Bragg and Pope Air Force Base. The city has a mix of suburban neighborhoods, tree-lined streets, and pockets of historic downtown charm. Residential areas often feature modest single-family homes, lawns, and quiet roads, while closer to the city center, older brick buildings, local shops, and cafes give a sense of small-town character. Surrounding the city are patches of woodland, rivers, and open fields, which provide a calm contrast to the occasional traffic and military activity. In winter, the air can be crisp, with bare trees and muted skies, giving the city a subdued, contemplative atmosphere. On Sunday, the 17th of December 2000, a distressed woman with red stains on her hands and face burst into the Video Hut video rental store. The woman was barefoot. According to the store manager, Condra Fuzi, she asked the staff to call 911 because her husband had been shot. At that time, she did not have a mobile phone, so she ran to the nearest place where she could get help. Police and paramedics quickly arrived at the scene. The woman claimed that her husband had been shot in the parking lot near the store, and when officers arrived at the indicated location, they found the lot mostly empty, apart from a single vehicle, a red Ford Explorer, beside which lay an injured man. The man was 31-year-old Marty Thear, a soldier recently assigned to a military base near Fayetteville who had moved to the area with his wife. That day, Marty and his wife Michelle had returned from a Christmas party. Michelle wanted to stop by her office to collect a few items while her husband waited in the car. At that moment, Michelle heard 5 loud gunshots. She immediately ran out of the building where she worked and saw her husband lying next to the vehicle. Seeing this, she ran for help. Medical responders did their best, but his injuries were too severe, and Marty died shortly afterwards. It later emerged that there had been no robbery, nothing was missing, and no one had seen the perpetrator or heard anything unusual. Michelle's hands were tested for gunpowder residue, but nothing was found. What happened to Marty, and why? Authorities would soon uncover many secrets about the couple. Let us begin by introducing the married couple in our story. Captain Frank Martin, Marty Thear, was born on the 26th of February 1969 in Würzburg, Germany. His parents were not German, but his father happened to be stationed there at the time of his birth. His mother, Linda, was a nurse, and his father, also named Martin, was a soldier. Marty was an only child, and he was the apple of his parents' eyes, especially his mother's. Unfortunately, Marty's parents could not get along, and from the very beginning there was tension between them. His father was a complex man, sometimes quick to anger, sometimes keeping everything inside. One day, when Marty was still a child, his father left home and never returned. Linda felt deep sorrow for her husband, who had left her with a child in a foreign country. It later emerged that Marty's father had schizophrenia, a fact previously unknown to his family. Linda returned to the United States with her son and moved in with her parents in Colorado. She found work and worked hard to support herself and Marty, while her parents helped care for him. Linda's father, Marty's grandfather, largely filled the role of a father figure. He was also in the military, having fought on the front lines in the 1940s, and was a warm, kind-hearted man. He spent a lot of time with his grandson, doing all the things fathers typically do with their sons. Thanks to his grandfather, Marty became fascinated with the military. As a young boy, he dreamed of becoming an astronaut. At school, he performed well academically, excelled in sports, had many friends, and was well liked. He also had a close relationship with his mother. In high school, Marty met the love of his life, Michelle. Michelle was born on the 9th of December 1970. She was the first child of Anne Hofler and Tom Forcier. Michelle's father, Tom Forcier, was a military man who frequently moved the family around during her childhood. They spent 3 years in the UK before he was sent to South Korea. After the family did not follow him, his marriage to Michelle's mother dissolved. Michelle also had 2 siblings, a sister, Angela Forcier, and a brother, Tom Forcier. Michelle loved her father dearly and struggled with her parents' divorce. After the divorce, her mother moved to Colorado, her hometown, where she worked hard to support the family. As the eldest daughter, Michelle helped care for her siblings while her mother was at work, and she had a very good relationship with them. At school, Michelle did well academically, but did not stand out. She had a small circle of friends and little personal time due to her caregiving responsibilities. The only activity she found time for was volunteering at a children's hospital. Michelle enjoyed helping others and was empathetic. Michelle and Marty became inseparable. After school, Michelle would walk home with Marty, who, having no siblings of his own, liked to help care for Michelle's younger siblings. In a short time, Marty became part of Michelle's family. By the late 1980s, Marty had finished high school and joined the U.S. Air Force Academy. He still dreamed of a career as an astronaut, but the competition was fierce, so he decided to pursue a future in the military. Similarly, after finishing high school, Michelle joined the military reserves. She also enrolled at university, partially funding her studies with money earned from her reserve service. Reportedly, she was even sent on a 5-month deployment, for which she received a medal for merit. The military, however, was not something Michelle intended to build her future around. During her service, she discovered her passion for psychology. Marty, on the other hand, pursued a career in the Air Force and intended to remain in the military. Despite very busy schedules, they maintained their relationship. Marty soon proposed, and in 1991 the couple married. Michelle was 21 and Marty was 22. Military service meant frequent relocations for the couple, which could be challenging for Michelle. Marty was first sent to Oklahoma, where Michelle studied psychology and worked part-time at a nursery. However, after some time, he was transferred to Denver for training, and Michelle had to relocate and start over once again. She moved from Oklahoma to Colorado. In 1994, she earned a bachelor's degree in psychology, becoming the first person in her family to graduate from university. Her family was very proud. Michelle wanted to continue her studies and immediately enrolled in a master's program. In the mid-1990s, the couple moved to Florida. Michelle had already obtained her master's degree in psychology and began a PhD. She started writing various publications and wished to develop her career in academia, aiming to become a therapist. At the same time, Marty was advancing steadily in his military career. While in Florida, Michelle worked as a volunteer on a support line for victims of abuse. She later began conducting therapy sessions and even gained experience speaking with inmates in a correctional facility. She was also invited as an expert to radio programs and occasionally gave lectures. Michelle was respected in her field. Their marriage seemed very happy. In Florida, they bought a modest house with a swimming pool. In the winter, they would travel to the mountains in Colorado, where they often met with family and friends. They appeared to be a normal, friendly couple. Over the years, their schedules became increasingly demanding, and there were more reasons for separation. In 1996, Marty was deployed for several months to Kuwait on a mission, and Michelle, who did not accompany him, found the separation difficult. It was the first time she had been apart from him for such a long period, and she worried constantly about his safety. Michelle worked hard to maintain their relationship and stayed in regular contact. At the same time, she threw herself into her work to distract her mind. By the late 1990s, Marty was again reassigned, this time to Georgia. The couple did not move together, as Michelle had secured an internship in Alabama and decided to take the opportunity. For several months, they lived apart. The year 1999 was particularly challenging for them. Living separately, they grew distant. Michelle, living alone, no longer had to worry as much about cooking or cleaning. She enjoyed the independence and freedom it gave her. After a few months, Marty received another transfer order, this time to North Carolina. Michelle decided to move there with him, having also completed her internship. In Fayetteville, North Carolina, Michelle was working as a licensed psychologist in private practice. She quickly adapted to her new environment. Marty was proud of his wife, but their marriage was going through a crisis. They had grown unaccustomed to living together, and Marty was quite pedantic. Arguments about cleanliness became frequent, though they were likely only a pretext. Both were around 30 years old, and Marty was eager to have children, while Michelle felt it was not the right time. She had started a new job and wanted to develop professionally. Frequent relocations were also a significant burden, and she could not imagine raising a child far from family and support. Their arguments became more frequent. By mid-2000, Michelle asked her husband to attend marriage counseling, but Marty refused. Seeing no other option, Michelle decided to move out. She was unsure whether she wanted a divorce, but she felt the separation would be beneficial. She rented an apartment for 3 months, while Marty stayed in their house. It soon emerged that Michelle was not living alone. She was having an affair. John Diamond was a 28-year-old Army Staff Sergeant stationed nearby at Fort Bragg. They had met online a year earlier. From the beginning, it seemed Michelle intended for their acquaintance to go beyond the internet. She posted an online dating ad with the headline, "Sexy Brunette Seeks Rendezvous Man." The ad stated that she sought a physically fit, attractive man for meetings 2 to 3 times a week, who could also intellectually stimulate her. Age 25 to 35, tall, and free of illness. She was only interested in men from the Fayetteville area. John met all these criteria. Like Michelle, he came from a military family and was married. His wife, Lourdes, had accompanied him to the United States after he met her on a mission in Panama. Although she knew about his numerous affairs, she chose to ignore them. By mid-2000, John and Lourdes were reportedly already separated. Lourdes wanted to save the marriage, but sensed another woman was in her husband's life. Michelle and John shared intimate interests, including swinging. However, Michelle had not entirely forgotten her husband. After some time, Marty wanted to reconcile. He promised to attend marriage counseling, to which Michelle agreed. She believed their relationship could be repaired and appeared ready to end her affair. After 3 months apart, Michelle returned home to live with Marty. In therapy sessions, they discussed their problems: Marty's obsession with order, Michelle's difficulty coping with constant relocations, her sociable nature versus Marty's homebody tendencies, and the desire for children. Marty seemed unaware of his wife's affair, as it was never mentioned. Instead, they spoke about an alleged affair on Marty's part. He had posted an online ad while in Florida, which Michelle had discovered. Marty deeply regretted this, explaining that no romance had occurred, but Michelle treated it as betrayal, which made their relationship tense. Apparently, John initially struggled with the end of his relationship with Michelle, but eventually accepted it. On the 17th of December 2000, the day of Marty's death, the couple attended a work party organized by Michelle's employer. The event went smoothly. Witnesses confirmed the couple held hands and appeared happy and affectionate. At the end of the party, they headed home, but Michelle asked to stop by her office to collect a few books. While she was at her office, tragedy struck. Around 10:30 p.m., Marty was shot in the parking lot. Investigators quickly noted that nothing had been stolen, ruling out a financial motive. Marty had been shot 5 times, including once in the head, as though the assailant wanted to ensure he would not survive. As is often the case, investigators turned their attention to the victim's wife, especially since Marty had recently taken out a $500,000 life insurance policy. They also noted that the attack occurred before Michelle's workday began, Yet she had run to a distant video rental store rather than her office to call 911. Why did she do this? Did she want her husband to wait longer for help? Michelle explained that, as she was retrieving the papers, she heard gunshots, rushed outside, and panicked. In her haste, she accidentally left her keys inside her locked office, leaving her unable to use the office phone, so she ran across the street to the video hut to call 911. According to an investigative summary, when Michelle appeared at the video hut in Fayetteville, she was remarkably calm despite the chaos. She was neither crying nor shaking, even though her sweater and hands were blood-stained. She told staff that her husband had just been murdered before her eyes and then left the store to return to the scene. Investigators noted that her controlled demeanor was unusual under the circumstances. Once police arrived at the parking lot, Michelle was found kneeling beside Marty, holding his head and reassuring him that everything would be all right. During her interrogation, Michelle spoke candidly about her affair and the marital crisis, revealing everything without holding back. She also admitted that after ending her romantic involvement with John, she maintained a friendly relationship with him. Investigators quickly became interested in Michelle's lover. John Diamond could have had a motive. It was possible he wanted Marty out of the way because he still cared for Michelle, or perhaps he had planned the murder in collaboration with Michelle to share the proceeds from Marty's life insurance. He was subsequently questioned. John insisted that he had spent the evening of the 17th of December with his wife, watching films. His wife confirmed this. Additionally, his mother-in-law had also been present and corroborated his alibi. The day after Marty's death, on the 18th of December, John filed for divorce in court, a curious coincidence. Authorities then decided to re-interview John's wife. Upset by the divorce, she chose to tell the truth, particularly after investigators informed her of John's affairs. John Diamond had previously been married. Lourdes was his second wife. He had a child from his first marriage. Lourdes reported that John had treated her poorly, frequently reminding her that she was in the United States only because of him. Most importantly, she finally revealed the truth about John's movements on the night of Marty's murder. Here's what Lourdes Diamond told police regarding his actions that evening. She stated that she had been at home with John watching a film when around 9 p.m. he received a call on his cell phone. He suddenly got up, changed his clothes, and told her he was heading to the barracks. Phone records confirmed that the call came from Marty Thear, but Michelle later denied having made it. Lourdes' statements were key in establishing a timeline for John's movements and indirectly linking him to Michelle at a critical moment. Although circumstantial evidence was accumulating, it was not enough to charge anyone at the time. In 2001, both Michelle and John were asked to take polygraph tests. They refused, which investigators took as a sign that they had something to hide. Both claimed that their lawyers had advised against it. During continuous questioning of Michelle, John, and those in their circles, it emerged that this was not Michelle's first affair. She had begun seeking excitement while living in Alabama, during Marty's deployments and training, meeting several men and frequenting clubs where partners were exchanged. Michelle experimented extensively in her sexual life, and Marty was completely unaware. Moreover, Michelle had not truly ended her relationship with John when she returned to Marty. She told investigators she had, but this was untrue. Initially, she had intended to break off contact, as confirmed by their emails, but John pleaded with her not to leave him. They continued to maintain contact and occasionally met, not just for coffee. During the investigation, police installed surveillance outside Michelle's residence, which confirmed that her affair with John continued. At the beginning of 2001, the couple even went on holiday together to Florida, and Michelle did not appear grief-stricken. Investigators suspected Michelle, but believed that she had not pulled the trigger herself, instead manipulating her lover. After questioning John's acquaintances, it emerged that he had borrowed a pistol from a friend named John Donald. The model matched the gun used to kill Marty. When authorities requested the return of the weapon, John claimed it had been stolen during a car break-in. Surveillance footage, however, contradicted this, showing Diamond's car parked outside Michelle Thear's residence on the night of the alleged theft, suggesting the break-in had been staged. As these revelations surfaced, Michelle herself went to the police station and admitted that she had been conducting her own investigation and meeting with John, but only to determine whether he had killed her husband. She claimed her knowledge of psychology allowed her to extract information effectively. While convincing, she remained a suspect. Meanwhile, evidence against John continued to mount. He was arrested in February 2001 by military authorities at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder. John Diamond's trial began in August 2001, presenting all the gathered evidence. Most of the case against him was circumstantial, though strong. It was known that John had borrowed the pistol used in the murder, but he was not caught at the crime scene at the time of the shooting. Phone records showed contact between Michelle and John, suggesting conspiracy and planning, but did not directly prove John fired the shots. His wife and acquaintances described his sudden behavior and leaving the house, supporting the conspiracy theory, but not directly showing he committed the murder. Surveillance footage showed his car and movements, indirectly supporting the sequence of events. Ballistics testing provided the closest thing to direct evidence, confirming that the bullets that killed Marty had been fired from the gun John had borrowed. During the trial, Michelle was called as a witness, but refused to answer any questions, invoking her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. John Diamond consistently denied personally killing Captain Marty Thear. He claimed he was not the mastermind and suggested his involvement had been manipulated by Michelle, who he said orchestrated much of the planning. Despite this, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole and stripped of his military rank, as per U.S. military procedures for serious criminal convictions. In the U.S. military, a conviction for murder automatically results in loss of rank, decorations, and eligibility for retirement benefits. During the trial, Diamond's defense raised concerns about a possible conflict of interest, alleging that Michelle had paid the initial retainer fee for his civilian attorneys. This was not disclosed to the court at the time and, if true, could have compromised his right to effective legal representation. The Court of Criminal Appeals ordered a Dubé hearing to investigate this matter further. Despite this allegation, no plea deal was ever offered or accepted. He was convicted and sentenced based on the evidence presented at the court-martial. After John's conviction, Michelle was formally charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in August 2001. She went on the run, underwent plastic surgery to alter her appearance, assumed a false identity, and relocated to Florida to avoid capture. While in hiding, she maintained a low profile, avoiding familiar places and people, which allowed her to evade arrest for over a year until she was apprehended in August 2002. Before fleeing, Michelle withdrew $30,000 of her savings as she could not rely on the life insurance due to the ongoing investigation and her pending charges. During her time on the run, she also entered a relationship with a 25-year-old man under her assumed identity. The man had no idea who his new partner truly was. The prosecution presented several key pieces of evidence during Michelle's trial. Investigators recovered over 88,000 emails and instant messages from Michelle's computer, including explicit communications with John Diamond, her lover. These messages provided clear evidence of their intimate relationship and their involvement in the conspiracy to murder Marty. Michelle had searched for body bags on eBay, suggesting a premeditated intent to dispose of her husband's body. A detailed plan was found on her laptop, outlining steps to assume a new identity and evade capture, including obtaining fake documents and undergoing plastic surgery. During the trial, Michelle invoked her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and refused to testify. Nevertheless, the court considered the other evidence implicating her in the murder conspiracy. Michelle was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in December 2004. She was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. She is currently incarcerated at the Anson Correctional Institution for Women in Polkton, North Carolina. While in prison, Michelle has faced disciplinary action. In 2010, she was placed in disciplinary segregation for 45 days after prison officials intercepted a map she had drawn of the facility, which she had attempted to mail, possibly indicating plans for escape. Michelle's family has consistently maintained her innocence. Her mother, Anne Hofler, publicly stated that Michelle was judged unfairly for her emotional responses during the trial, suggesting that any display of emotion was scrutinized to her detriment. She described Michelle as a very lonely woman, whose marriage was troubled due to Marty's frequent absences, and argued that her actions were misunderstood. Michelle's sister, Angela Forcier, also testified on her behalf, expressing the difficulty of reconciling the case's details with her perception of her sister, and noting the pain of being unable to comfort Michelle during such a challenging period. In contrast, Marty's family has expressed deep sorrow and a sense of betrayal. The murder of Marty, a U.S. Air Force captain, was a devastating blow. While specific public statements from his relatives are limited, the circumstances of his death, being killed by his wife and her lover, undoubtedly caused profound grief and a lasting sense of loss. Captain Marty Thear will always be remembered not only as a dedicated U.S. Air Force officer, but also as a man whose life was tragically cut short. Despite the darkness surrounding his final days, his memory endures in the hearts of those who knew him, family, friends, and colleagues who continue to honor his service and the life he devoted to duty, love, and commitment. His story serves as a solemn reminder of how swiftly life can change and how justice, though delayed, seeks to reveal the truth. Thank you for listening to this sad story, and until next time.